Fourth, we're forming a high-level group of outside experts to review our entire intelligence and communications technologies. We need new thinking for a new era. We now have to unravel terrorist plots by finding a needle in the haystack of global telecommunications. And meanwhile, technology has given governments including our own unprecedented capability to monitor communications. So I am tasking this independent group to step back and review our capabilities, particularly our surveillance technologies. And they'll consider how we can maintain the trust of the people. How we can make sure that there absolutely is no abuse in terms of how these surveillance technologies are used. Ask how surveillance impacts our foreign policy, particularly in an age when more and more information is becoming public. And they will provide an interim report in 60 days and a final report by the end of this year. So that we can move forward with a better understanding of how these programs impact our security, our privacy, and our foreign policy. So all these steps are designed to ensure that the American people can trust that our efforts are in line with our interests and our values. And to others around the world. I want to make clear once again that America is not interested in spying on ordinary people. Our intelligence is focused, above all, on finding the information that's necessary to protect our people. And in many cases protect our allies. It's true we have significant capabilities. What's also true is we show a restraint that many governments around the world don't even think to do. Refuse to show, and that includes, by the way, some of America's most vocal critics. We shouldn't forget the difference between the ability of our government to collect information online under strict guidelines and for narrow purposes, and the willingness of some other governments to throw their own citizens in prison for what they say online. And let me close with one additional thought. The men and women of our intelligence community work every single day to keep us safe. Because they love this country and believe in our values. They're patriots. And I believe that those who have lawfully raised their voices on behalf of privacy and civil liberties are also patriots who love our country and want it to live up to our highest ideals. So this is how we're going to resolve our differences in the United States, through vigorous public debate. Guided by our Constitution, with reverence for our history as a nation of laws, and with respect for the facts. So, with that, I'm going to take some questions. And let's see who we've got here. We're going to start with Julie Pace of AP. Question: Thank you, MR. President. I wanted to ask about some of the foreign policy. Fallout from the disclosure of the NSA programs that you discussed. Your spokesman said yesterday that there's no question that the U.S. relationship with Russia has gotten worse since Vladimir Putin took office. How much of that decline do you attribute directly to MR? Putin, given that you seem to have had a good working relationship with his predecessor? Also, will there be any additional punitive measures taken against Russia for granting asylum to Edward Snowden? Or is cancelling the September summit really all you can do given the host of issues the U.S. needs Russian cooperation for? Thank you. President Obama, good. I think there's always been some tension in the U.S. Russian relationship after the fall of the Soviet Union. There's been cooperation in some areas, there's been competition in others. It is true that in my first 4 years, in working with President Medvedev, we made a lot of progress. We got start done or start to done. We were able to cooperate together on Iran sanctions. They provided us help in terms of supplying our troops in Afghanistan. We were able to get Russia into the WTO, which is not just good for Russia. It's good for our companies and businesses because they're more likely than to follow international norms and rules. So there's been a lot of good work that has been done and that is going to continue to be done. What's also true is that when President Putin, who was prime minister when Medvedev was president, came back into power, I think we saw more rhetoric on the Russian side that was anti-American. That played into some of the old stereotypes about the Cold War contests between the United States and Russia. And I've encouraged Mr. Putin to think forward as opposed to backwards on those issues with mixed success. And I think the latest episode is just one more in a number of emerging differences that we've seen over the last several months around Syria, around human rights issues. Where it is probably appropriate for us to take a pause, reassess where it is that Russia is going. What our core interests are, and calibrate the relationship so that we're doing things that are good. For the United States and hopefully good for Russia as well. But recognizing that there just are going to be some differences and we're not going to be able to completely disguise them. And that's okay. Keep in mind that although I'm not attending the summit, I'll still be going to St. Petersburg because Russia is hosting the G20. That's important business in terms of our economy and our jobs and all the issues that are of concern to Americans. I know that one question that's been raised is how do we approach the Olympics? I want to just make very clear right now I do not think it's appropriate to boycott the Olympics. We've got a bunch of Americans out there who are training hard, who are doing everything they can to succeed. Nobody is more offended than me by some of the anti-gay. And lesbian legislation that you've been seeing in Russia. But as I said just this week, I've spoken out against that not just with respect to Russia but a number of other countries where we continue to do work with them, but we have a strong disagreement on this issue. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to is maybe some gay and lesbian athletes bringing home the gold or silver or bronze. Which I think would go a long way in rejecting the kind of attitudes that we're seeing there. And if Russia doesn't have gay or lesbian athletes, then it probably makes their team weaker. Question: Are there going to be any additional punitive measures for Russia, beyond cancelling the summit? President Obama, keep in mind that our decision to not participate in the summit was not simply around Mr. Snowden. It had to do with the fact that, frankly, on a whole range of issues where we think we can make some progress, Russia has not moved. And so we don't consider that strictly punitive. We're going to assess where the relationship can advance you. S interests and increase peace and stability and prosperity around the world. Where it can, we're going to keep on working with them. Where we have differences, we're going to say so clearly. And my hope is that over time, Mr. Putin and Russia recognize that rather than a zero-sum competition, in fact, if the two countries are working together, we can probably advance the betterment of both peoples. Chuck Todd. Question: Thank you, Mr. President. Given that you just announced a whole bunch of reforms based on essentially the leaks that Edward Snowden made on all of these surveillance programs, is that changes your mindset changed about him? Is he now more a whistleblower than he is a hacker? As you called him at one point, or somebody that shouldn't be filed charges. And should he be provided more protection? Is he a patriot? You just used those words. And then just to follow up on the personal, I want to follow up on a personal. President Obama, okay, I want to make sure everybody is asking one question, it would be helpful. Question, no, I understand. It was a part of a question that you didn't answer. Can you get stuff done with Russia, big stuff done, without having a good personal relationship with Putin? President Obama, I don't have a bad personal relationship with Putin. When we have conversations, they're candid, they're blunt, oftentimes, they're constructive. I know the press likes to focus on body language and he's got that kind of slouch. Looking like the bored kid in the back of the classroom. But the truth is that when we're in conversations together, oftentimes it's very productive. So the issue here really has to do with where do they want to take Russia. It's substantive on a policy front. And question, inaudible. President Obama, no. Right now, this is just a matter of where Mr. Putin and the Russian people want to go. I think if they are looking forward into the 21st century and how they can advance their economy. And make sure that some of our joint concerns around counterterrorism are managed effectively. Then I think we can work together. If issues are framed as if the US is for it, then Russia should be against it. Or we're going to be finding ways where we can poke each other at every opportunity, then probably we don't get as much stuff done.